Hi everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I got a student coming shortly. I hope I can get this recording in before the doorbell rings, but I'll do what I can. I've been playing for a while, trying to warm up. Feeling a little fatigued this morning. I'm going to try and play through Charlie Porter's Lyrical Etudes, number 10. This is in A flat minor. Very bad old dad joke. What do you get when you throw a piano down a mine shaft? Yeah, A flat minor. Okay, enough of that. I'm going to play through this thing. It's in C flat, a little bit unusual key. C flat, relative major to A flat minor. And you'll hear it. Here we go. Thank you, Charlie. This gives us something to sink our teeth into, so to speak. A lot of stuff going on here. What I really strongly recommend is, if you have the book, Lyrical Etudes, please read the comments, because I must say, on page 12, there's a comment saying, developing phrasing. And I totally concur with everything that Charlie said. He sounds a little, I'm a professor, so he sounds a little bit like a professor, but he's telling you the truth. And this is the kind of paragraph, 2 paragraphs actually, that I would read over and over again. Even though I know this stuff, it's like, oh yeah, it's about the music. Now we have a lot of stuff to get through technically before we can play music like this. But anything that you can play, you want to bring it first from the musical expression. And the musical expression, for me, actually stimulates developing the necessary skills in order to make those sounds in that way, at that time, with that intention. Most people think they have to develop their technique until they can play this. Well, that's true. But I'm telling you that for me, it's like I develop my technique because I want to be able to play this. I want to be able to play it with musical expression. Now, there are 1,000 things we could talk about. What's going to be useful to most people? Well, a couple things to note, and in Charlie's suggestions on page 13, right above the etude, a lot of these things are very obvious in a sense, and he mentions them all. One, it's in 5/4. This is a key that we don't often play in very much. So we need to get used to the feeling of the way it moves. Now, I know a lot of my students that I've observed over the years tend to play vertically rather than horizontally. And they tend to play one note at a time, dee da da dee da 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 dee da. That's what I call note note. And to me it's very annoying because it's not musical. So the way you can help yourself with that is, why did he write it in 5/4? Because it has a certain kind of swing to it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. You see how everything is. You see how I'm gesturing? I have to wait until it comes back around. Let me play the beginning for you again. Dee-da, dee, ya-da, dee-da. Okay, now you heard me doing some timing things there. In other words, I'm not playing note. I'm trying to play groupings. Dee-da-da-dee, ya-da-da-dee, da-da-da, da-da-da. Now don't get the wrong impression. I'm not telling you to accent the groups. I'm telling you that the emphasis points, where the notes, where you're leaning on them, where they have greater intensity, you're leading to those points and you're coming away from those points. So you have a continuous line that's flowing through. That's a phrase. You probably know that, have heard from someone in your musical life that a phrase is a musical sentence. In other words, it has words in it and they mean something and they go together as one continuous idea. So these are the things you first want to listen for, and I hope you could hear some of that as I played it. Something else that's very critical in this is there's a lot of timing things that you can do. And what dictates the timing? Well, you can copy great musicians. That's a really good place to start. Listen to it, but most of all, listen to what they do and try and discern why are they taking time there. And I think you'll hear it. Now, something that's very characteristic of Charlie's writing is he's always thinking in very interesting harmonic progressions. As I've said before, these the lyrical etudes are fairly traditional in style, but even so, the progression is really important. So you see in the middle of the piece, so you want to try and hear that progression. So you see in the middle of the piece there's a change from minor mode to major mode, and that's pretty obvious. Most of us can hear that. So I'm gonna make the transition, and it also says piumoso con brio, which some of you probably know, con brio is with fire. And that's a matter of interpretation. I would call it enthusiasm. That's the way I feel this music. It's like, the first part is like a lament. Let's see, where can I start here? Ooh, that's really, you see how there's some blue notes in there? It's so cool. Wow, that's really cool. So the blue notes are color notes. They are notes that give the music some spice, a dash of interest. And you have to figure out how to integrate those. Now, you have there's a little bit of a dissonance there. And that dissonance is like a little bit of a twinge, an emotional twinge, is the way we can interpret that. And immediately what happens next is, and then back to the original theme. These are so much fun to play for me. If they're not fun, it's probably because you're frustrated with the results. So all I can tell you is be patient with it and use any etude that you play as a jumping off point for exploring, okay, what is it do I need to work on? And then exploring, well, how can I work on that effectively day by day, little by little, in order to build that skill over a long period of time? Because this kind of work doesn't happen instantaneously. It's it's a labor of love for the music, and a dedication to the craft. And so if you're with me on that, try not to get discouraged. A good way to start is get some musical satisfaction playing something that's whatever you like, that may not have the same degree of technical difficulty, and then choose for yourself something that's challenging, but not so much challenging that you're falling apart or that you're kind of torturing yourself. The trumpet is an instrument that's really good for a masochist. You could torture yourself emotionally and physically as much as you want with this instrument. I'm just saying, no, you want to enjoy the music, and if you're enjoying it and enjoying playing it, everybody who listens will probably be enjoying it too. Okay, enough lecturing. Let's get back to the piece. There's something really important I want to mention, and I might close with this. There's a word called rallentando, and there's another word called ritardando, and those are just terms for slowing down. And why are there two different terms? Well, they have slightly different meanings. I won't get into it, but my brother has spent his whole life studying the culture and the language of Italy. He's an Italianist. And so I'm afraid of pronouncing Italian words when I do these videos, because he might hear them and tell me that I'm doing it wrong. But that's okay. I don't mind that. I like to learn. But rallentando and ritardando, something to consider. I'll just tell you the way I think about it. Ritardando is slowing. It's gradually getting slower. Rallentando is gradually getting slower too, but I feel the way I think about it is it's very organic. In other words, it's like if I take a billiard ball and I just give it a very gentle push and I let it roll across the table. If I push it very gently, it won't even get to the other side of the table. And the whole time it's gradually slowing down. So it's rolling to a stop. I don't know if that's correct, but that's the way I'm feeling it. Now let me show you how I do this. So any place where there's a rallentando, I'll just go ahead to the end of the first section in minor and do that rallentando again. What I'm going to do is something I've demonstrated before. I'm going to articulate the subdivision of the longer notes so you can hear what I'm thinking with the rallentando. And it's pretty straightforward. It's not a secret. It's just something to be very aware of when you're playing. Now, all I did is tongue the 8 notes inside of those notes. But this is what I want you to listen for and sing to yourself, conduct it for yourself, feel the time, because this is flexible time, it's not metronomic. D, 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 D. So can you feel that ball rolling to a stop? D, da, 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 D, da. And you see I'm going to the silent beat. The way it rolls, the way it comes to a stop, I don't know why I thought of this, but there's a show on TV that many of you may be familiar with called Wheel of Fortune. This is like watching the wheel stop. You spin it, and sometimes people give it a mighty spin, and it spins for a long time, but at the end, no matter how hard you spin it, it slows down. And I always wonder, is that fixed? Or is that honest? In other words, does that slow down naturally? Another way of feeling this, if those of you who spend time in casinos, which I never do, but each to his own, the roulette wheel. Round and round she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows. Here we do know, because we can actually feel where it's going to end. And this is my point. You're setting up the next thing that you play. So there's nothing random about it. It's organic. It's the way the universe works. Let me try it once again, and I'll go into the next phrase. I'm going to start the rallentando. I can start at any place I want. He marks it in the last 3 beats. But I started it earlier than that. I feel comfortable doing it earlier than that. Do you hear the timing things I'm doing? These are perfectly natural. Anybody who has a moderately developed musical sense will hear them and feel them and appreciate them. All I'm suggesting to you, whoever you are, wherever you are, is that this is what makes music music. It's one of the many ingredients, this sense of time and how the sound moves in time. This is, to me, it's the main ingredient of music, how the sound moves through time. And it's a physical movement. So the more you can appreciate that, I think the more expressive quality is going to come into your music. Now I'm going to play the spot which I didn't like because I'm a little fatigued right now, but I'm going to start on the third line from the bottom and now play up to the high C. As you can see, I'm playing on a C trumpet as usual. So I'll be in concert pitch. For me, musically, I want to take time on the high C. And I hope you were listening when I did that little rallentando on the end. Ya da dee da dee da dee da dee da da dee da. That's the way you can work on it. Now this isn't right or wrong. It's something you have to feel. It's like it's a swing. It's a swing thing. So when I got to the high C, I wasn't totally satisfied with with the physical sensation of playing it. I can definitely do better than that. The sound was okay, but what I'm actually concerned about is the timing. I'll do it again. And what most of us will realize is that physically, unless you're very comfortable, you're actually enjoying the sensation of doing the music physically at that spot, you're not going to want to slow down. And yet for me, the music wants to slow down. It's like a great operatic tenor or a soprano, going to the high note, right? So they're sustaining, and sometimes they'll sustain that high note for a long time. I actually do that to practice. So I'll just leave you with this, and remember, you can take it down the octave and practice the musical essence of it, the timing, the movement, the change in intensity throughout the phrase without putting a lot of strain on yourself. But I need to do this work, so I'm going to put a little strain on myself. Now, to me, to my taste, that was too much for the music. I actually put a retard in. And why is it too much? Because you have these phrases, dee da dee da 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 dee da da da, dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da da dee da, dee da dee da 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 dee da dee. That's the final phrase. So it should say, yeah, this is the last one. It's at the peak of the range. It's at the peak of the intensity in the sound color and intensity in the dynamics. But you don't want to stop. So that's kind of the rule. Music, there's a time for music to stop. But in the middle of the music, it's probably you don't want to stop unless that's part of the effect, part of the musical effect, a surprise, in other words. Let me try it once more, and then I'll hopefully let you go practice. So practice this judiciously in terms of resting and how many repetitions you do. This is, the trumpet's a physical instrument, so don't abuse the body. Push yourself away from the table, so to speak, before you're full. Don't be a glutton like me. Okay, I will see you later on, I hope, when you have some time. And I hope you're enjoying the music that you're playing and enjoying your practice. Have a great day. Bye-bye.